Welcome to the Oasis, my name's Mike, and today I'm excited to be checking out the brand new HTC Vive Pro 2, which HTC kindly sent over as a loan unit for me to review on the channel. The two big burning questions are: how does this headset stack up against the competition like the HP Reverb G2 and the Valve Index, and is it worth the $800 for the headset alone as an upgrade path for those that already own a Steam VR headset? I'll be answering both of those questions in this video, but first, let me show you what comes in the box. This is the full Vive Pro 2 kit, which includes SteamVR 2.0 base stations and HTC Vive wand controllers, but I'm not going to be needing either of those, as I already have 2.0 base stations set up and a pair of Valve Index controllers which I'll be using for all my testing in this video. Although I will say that the headset is also compatible with SteamVR 1.0 base stations if you already have them. Those aside though, in the box you get the Vive Pro 2 headset itself, and the only thing that really sets it apart visually from the original Vive Pro is the new black front faceplate, whereas the original Vive Pro was all blue. Alongside the headset, you also get a link box, a USB-A cable, a DisplayPort cable, and a power adapter. The total cable length from the PC to the headset is around 5 meters. The headset pretty much borrows everything from its older brother, the original Vive Pro, which launched around 3 years ago. It has the same head strap design, same IPD and eye relief adjustment, it has the same on-ear headphones, it has the same pass-through cameras, and sadly, it even has the same awful microphones. This is what the HTC Vive Pro 2's microphone sounds like. This is what the HP Reverb G2's microphone sounds like. And this is what the Valve Index microphone sounds like. The only real upgrades in the Vive Pro 2 are the new display and lenses. The Vive Pro 2 features a single low-persistence dual RGB LCD panel, which provides a resolution of 2448 by 2448 pixels per eye, running up to 120 Hz with a field of view of 120 degrees, setting itself as the new king of resolution in the consumer VR market. The slightly wider field of view is achieved through a new lens design, which is a slight variation of the Fresnel lens we know and love, but they've stacked them in a similar way to the Valve Index, achieving that 120 degrees horizontal field of view. The setup process of the headset was an absolute breeze, although one thing to note when using the Vive Pro 2 is that you'll need to run the new Vive console software alongside SteamVR for the headset to function. With the previous Vive Pro, everything could be managed using SteamVR alone, but that's not the case with this one. The Vive console features a bunch of settings, but most interesting is a range of presets to change the resolution and refresh rate. When applying these presets though, it doesn't change the settings within SteamVR, so that has to be set independently. I personally found the best performance on the Ultra preset was to set the resolution slider between 60 and 100% in the SteamVR settings, depending on the game that I was playing. Another thing to note is that motion smoothing in SteamVR isn't supported by the Vive Pro 2, but Vive do offer their own solution to this in the form of a motion compensation setting in the Vive console. This will help smooth out any frame drops when using less than ideal hardware specs. For my testing, I'm using an i9 9900K processor with an RTX 3090, but more on the required specs later on. After a few days of playing with the Vive Pro 2, here are some of my thoughts. The original facepad is quite frankly horrible. I found it itchy and uncomfortable, and it leaked light into the sides of the headset due to the shape of my face. I was able to fix this easily though with a thick VR cover pad I had lying around, which was simple enough to swap out as both the original facepad and the VR cover pad are fixed in place using Velcro. With the new VR cover pad in place, my experience with the headset immediately improved. Those that wear glasses in VR will be happy to hear I found my prescription glasses fit inside the headset comfortably, even with the eye relief dialed all the way back to its lowest setting. The shape of the new lenses are kinda square-shaped, unlike the original Vive Pro and Index, which are round. With this new shape, I immediately noticed it reduced the vertical field of view slightly, but I guess this is a trade-off as you do get a slightly wider horizontal field of view. Whilst on the topic of lenses, as they still have concentric rings, you still suffer with some glare and God rays in high contrast scenes. In my opinion though, it's no better or worse than any other VR headset on the market that uses Fresnel lenses, which all suffer from the same effect. The sweet spot is pretty small when compared to the Valve Index, but once dialed in, the new display does look great. It's incredibly sharp and clear, providing one of the best visual experiences you can have with a consumer VR headset right now. Checking out the gorgeous environments in Half-Life Alyx was incredible, and I would be jealous of anyone that gets to experience the game for the first time using a headset like this. When you compare the Vive Pro 2 to the Index side by side, you can really see the difference in clarity, and there's no noticeable screen door effect. Although I have to say, I do prefer the comfort of the Index and its excellent built-in audio. When comparing the Vive Pro 2 directly side by side with the HP Reverb G2, it was much harder to tell them apart in terms of the visuals. The G2 is definitely a lighter headset if that's important to you, although it does have poorer tracking capabilities and controllers, but it's still a great choice for sim enthusiasts, in my opinion, that want to use a steering wheel or HOTAS setup. The Vive Pro 2 has an LCD panel, which might upset those who love the rich contrast of an OLED panel, but having gotten used to LCD displays in VR headsets for some time now, I found the contrast levels to be totally acceptable. When bumping up the refresh rate to 120Hz, which is ideal for fast-paced games like Beat Saber, I found it was best to lower the visual preset to balance mode in the Vive console, which made the gameplay feel buttery smooth. If resolution is your utmost priority and you want the gold standard when it comes to tracking, you have the budget and a powerful gaming PC, the Vive Pro 2 is a great choice, especially those looking to upgrade from the first-gen VR headsets like the original Vive and Rift. But if you already own a Vive Pro, Valve Index, or HP Reverb G2, I honestly don't feel like the Vive Pro 2 is a big enough leap forward to warrant spending the money on upgrading. I kinda compare it a bit to Apple iPhones at the moment with incremental display upgrades. I mean, why does it matter if your screen is X% higher resolution from the last generation when all you're gonna do is send tweets and play Angry Birds? The same can be said in VR right now, as we're kinda lacking the big new AAA VR titles to really warrant spending huge sums of money on new hardware. The Vive Pro 2 is fully compatible with the range of accessories that Vive already provide, such as the new 3.0 trackers and facial tracker, along with the Vive wireless adapter. Although please note that with the Vive wireless adapter with the Vive Pro, it's only compatible at 90Hz with a resolution of 1224 by 1224 pixels per eye at the time of this video, with an update coming in the future to increase that to 1632 by 1632 pixels per eye. HTC did also recently announce that they're going to be selling eye tracking modules compatible with the Vive Pro 2 from Drulon, which will be coming later this year. Although, I do feel like they kind of missed a trick not having built-in eye tracking and facial tracking in the Vive Pro 2, as it would have been the perfect headset to entice the social VR crowd. And that brings me on to system specs. HTC recommend an RTX 2070, but running this headset at 5K at 90Hz in games like Half-Life Alyx is really going to be pushing it to its limit, so I would suggest something higher to take full advantage of this headset, but I do appreciate that graphics cards are hard to come by right now. I should also mention that the Vive Pro 2 uses a technology called display stream compression, meaning that it can push 5K at 120Hz with visually lossless compression over DisplayPort 1.2, providing greater compatibility with older graphics cards should you want to buy the headset now and then upgrade your graphics card later when they become more widely available. You can pre-order the headset on its own right now at a slight discount prior to the headset going on sale on the 4th of June. The full kit, which I have here, will be available later this year on the 4th of August, which includes 2.0 base stations and original Vive wand controllers. Although, if you're set on getting this headset, I would highly recommend buying the headset alone from HTC and then buying Index controllers and base stations directly from Valve if you don't have them already. The old Vive ones just don't cut it anymore, and are just straight up bad for most VR games in my opinion, and I do wish they made some new controllers, or at least partnered with Valve to offer the Index controllers in the full kit. So that is the HTC Vive Pro 2, a nice upgrade, albeit an expensive one, and one that's not particularly sexy as it's lacking any other killer features aside from the new display and lenses. I will be kind of sad to send the Vive Pro 2 back to HTC, but honestly, I think once I start getting back into the index again, I'll quickly forget about it, and I'll be more than happy with what I already have for now. If you've made it this far into the video, I want to say thank you for watching, and I'd like to know what you think of the HTC Vive Pro 2 in the comments down below. Have you pre-ordered one? And if so, what games are you planning to play with it? Maybe you're happy with the headset that you already have and you're not interested in upgrading at all. Would more features like eye tracking and face tracking have enticed you to part with your cash with this new headset? I'd love to know in the comments down below. If you have any burning questions about the Vive Pro 2, also drop them in the comments and I'll try and answer as many questions as I can, as I tried to keep this video as brief as I possibly could. I want to say thanks to HTC for sending out the review unit. I appreciate the opportunity to check it out and share my experience with you all. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been using a brand new microphone for this video, so if you think it sounds better, or possibly even worse, than my previous microphone, I'd really appreciate the feedback. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and you found it useful, make sure you're subscribed for all my future VR content, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.